have been encouraged to go solar. Families have been offered incentives and programs, but now the state's public utility regulator is proposing another cut to solar credits. Solar advocates say that this could be the final blow to rooftop solar in California. ABC 10 anchor Laura Painter explains what this means for the future of solar and customers' bottom line.
The PUC is laying the groundwork, the Public Utilities Commission, to absolutely kill all solar programs in California.
The state's public utility regulator, the California Public Utilities Commission, is proposing more cuts to electric bill solar credits people with rooftop solar can earn. The CPUC says rebalancing is needed, arguing rooftop solar customers don't pay their fair share of costs needed to maintain the power grid. The CPUC introduced the cuts in response to Governor Gavin Newsom's order aimed at addressing rising electricity bills. But solar advocates say these cuts could be the final blow to rooftop solar in California.
It pencils out for the utilities quite well. The utilities are going to be making profits hand over fist and extra money that, frankly, they are not entitled to.
Loretta Lynch, president of the CPUC in the early 2000s, says recent reductions of solar incentives by the commission have already made it harder for rooftop solar to make sense for California families, while PG&E is reporting record profits. Lynch says if this proposal becomes a reality and solar incentives are further reduced, solar customers run out of options for where to put the extra power they generate.
What does this signal to the customers, and what impact could it have on the future of solar in California?
Already the solar industry is hurting because of the changes that the PUC's made in the last 2 years. But this will be the final stake in the heart of the solar industry.
California is currently the largest solar state in the nation, with enough solar capacity to power 15 million homes, according to the Solar Energies Industry Association. They also predict California will lose its spot as the top solar state to Texas by 2027. Rooftop solar advocates like Bernadette Del Chiaro with the California Solar and Storage Association say strong incentives are needed to encourage people to spend thousands of dollars on rooftop solar systems the state has mandated be installed on new homes. The mandate has been in place since 2020.
They're trying to change the policy and claw back savings from people that have gone solar to date.
Del Chiaro says that adds up to about 2 million Californians. Many, she says, are middle and working class.
Could this proposal set the state back in its solar energy goals?
Taxing solar panels is the polar opposite thing of what California should be doing. We need more solar energy, more clean energy, more clean air. We need an abundance of energy to bring prices down, and we need competition in the marketplace to get PG&E to stop treating consumers like an ATM machine.
Up until the past few years, solar customers in California have been paying lower electricity rates thanks to California's net metering program, which was created in 1995. This program allows customers to connect to a utility's power grid and transfer power they don't use in exchange for credit on their bill.
According to the CPUC's latest proposal, a monthly grid participation charge of $8 per kilowatt would be added to these customers' bills.
Why this? Why now?
That is the trillion-dollar question. Solar customers being able to generate their own electricity is an existential threat to the utilities. Because if you can make electricity, then they don't sell it to you. You don't have to buy it from them at these exorbitant prices. And the less they sell, the less money they make.
A well-known California economist and energy policy specialist, Dr. Richard McCann, argues PG&E rates are increasing because their spending is increasing.
The relationship between this spending and recovery of those costs is one-to-one, virtually one-to-one with the rate increase. In other words, rates are rising in direct tandem with increased utility spending.
McCann's research also finds rooftop solar has helped keep peak electricity demand flat for 20 years, thanks in part to customers spending their own money to install solar systems. As a result, he says, helping the state avoid the costs in investing in this technology.
Rates would be even higher than what they are now if rooftop solar had not been present.
We asked the CPUC about this study. They pointed us to the Public Advocate's Office, which is their consumer advocacy advocacy arm. They say in their critique, quote, the study artificially inflates the perceived benefits of solar production and ignores the reality of cost shifting to non-solar customers. In their response to concerns about the proposal decreasing incentives to solar customers, the CPUC tells ABC 10, quote, the main driver behind increasing residential retail rates is wildfire mitigation costs, like vegetation management. This is driving up the overall revenue requirement, or the total amount of costs that utilities collect from customers to provide electrical service. PG&E declined to comment on the CPUC's proposal. Overall, experts say if customers are no longer incentivized to sell their extra solar to the utilities, the only recourse they have is to store it in batteries.
Is there still incentive to go solar?
I think there is, especially if you can afford a battery with it. But we need to start looking at whether or not the law should be changed so that communities or even neighborhoods could go solar together, pool their money for a battery, and frankly, leave the utility entirely.
If you are a solar customer and are not happy about this proposal, there are things you can do. Contact your elected officials at the state level. Let them know how you feel and what your concerns are. Keep in mind, the CPUC also takes public comment at their monthly meetings. We do have links to that on our website, abc10.com.
Now, I do have one question for you before we let you go here. When could people really start to see some of those changes to their incentives?
Yeah, it's a great question, Alex. We have not heard of the CPUC scheduling any kind of formal hearing or a vote specifically for these changes proposed in this story. But we are also keeping an eye on a bill in the legislature that could impact solar incentives for customers who signed up for solar before April 2023. Now, there's a lot of movement happening behind the scenes, and we will be following it in the months to come.
All right, Laura, thank you so much. And I want to mention, if you want to see more reporting from ABC 10's Laura Painter, check out her series Dollars and Cents on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. You can watch specials about setting creative financial goals and ways to save. Find Dollars and Cents under the news section. The ABC 10 Plus streaming app is free to download to your TV.